we got the rectangular coordinate system. Well, the rectangular coordinate system was invented by a guy called Rene Descartes. He's right here. He's not that handsome, but he's quite smart. You might heard of him. You might recall the guy who said, "I think, therefore I am." Well, it turns out that one day he said, "Well, since we know what a number line is, now what if we draw two number lines together perpendicular to each other, like this?" Well, if we do this, then we number off the first line and the second line both with numbers. First line is 1, 2, 3 on the right side. And this point is where we say 0. This point is called the origin because this is the point where they intersect. And on the left side is negative, -1, -2, -3. Now, on the top, it's also positive, 1, 2, 3. On the bottom of 0 is negative, -1, -2, -3. And this point over here is what we call the origin, or 0, but there's just a space is just too small, so I didn't put the 0 here, but usually we do instead of the origin. Now, this line over here is what we call the x-axis. That is the first number line. We call the x-axis. You can say the x number line, but it's not mainstream. So it's what it means, the x number line, but we use axis now. We call it x-axis. It makes you sound smarter. So do it. Use it. Right here is what we call the y-axis, which means the y number line. So what do we use x and y's? If you ask, well, the reason we use it is because we use x and y a lot. So it's natural to us to just use x and y's. If you want to call it a and b, circles and stars, whatever, it's okay. But the thing is, if you call it the circle axis and the star axis, nobody else in the world will understand what you mean except for yourself. And that's not good because we want to communicate. Okay? So just remember, this first number line we call the x-axis. The second number line we call the y-axis. Well, now, oops, my bad. Let's go back. There we go. So now, since we got this, so over on this, as we can see, it divided the slide into 4 parts. This part, this part, this part, and this part. Well, these 4 parts, we have names for them. The first part, all 4 parts are called quadrants. And the first part starts over here. This is called a quadrant 1. Means this place is the first place, basically. Now, the second goes over here. This place is called quadrant 2. And this place is called quadrant 3. And this place is called quadrant 4. Easy, right? Remember, it goes by a counterclockwise direction. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Not the other way around, but counterclockwise. All right? Well, to symbolize a point, let's say, well, what if we just put a point on here? Well, Rene said, what do we call that point? Well, it's easy. Since we have this point over here, we can just look at the number line and use a ruler. We go, oh, it's about 2 on the x-axis. When it's about 2 on the y-axis, so this point, we're going to call it the point 2, 2. And that's how we visualize a point in a coordinate system. We can imagine it. So what is the point 2, 2? Well, point 2, 2 is what we call an ordered pair. A pair of numbers, they are in order. And by order means it's definite. If it says it's 2, 2, that means it's on 2, 2. It's in order. It's not just 1, 2 or -1, 2. It's 2, 2. So we call an ordered pair. Now, the first number over here is what we call the first number over here is the x coordinate. this symbolizes, it tells us where this number should be on the x-axis. Now, the second number over here, as you may guessed, is called the y-coordinate. This number over here tells us where the number is on y-axis. Well, let's say if we have a point 3, 5, that means it's on 3 for x and 5 for y. 6, 7, our x-coordinate is 6 and y-coordinate is 7. Oh, 1/2 and 5. Well, our x is 1/2 and y is 5. Well, since it works for any number, not just fractions, whole numbers, it also works for decimals as well. X is 3.5 and y is 5.1. Once we find those numbers, we just mark it. And as we can see, it can be any number, right? So, in general, an ordered pair looks like this. It's in the form of x, y, where x can be any number and y can be any number. If x is 3 over here, I mean in this case x is 3 and y is 5, x is 6 and y is 7, and so forth. Alright, and let's go back to the coordinate system. So if I have a coordinate system like this, let's find something that we already know. So we already know that this is the origin. This is 0, 0, right? So if I have a point here, let's say it's 1 and 1, right? Which quadrant is it in? Of course, if I show you right here, it's in quadrant 1, right? If I say there's a point right here and this in quadrant 2, right? Point right here is in quadrant 3. A point right here is in quadrant 4, or anything here is in quadrant 4. But there's also a relationship or a common pattern. So we found out that everything in quadrant 1 is going to be positive and positive, because right here in this space we're going to have positive x values and positive y values. So anything over here, that means it's going to be positive, positive. Now, which means over here on quadrant 2, as you may have guessed, it's going to be the form of negative and positive, because this is to the left side of 0, negative for x and positive for y. Now for quadrant 3, it's going to be what? Negative number, another negative number, so negative, negative. And quadrant 4 is going to be positive, negative. Positive x and negative y. Remember, an ordered pair is always in the form of x and y. So every number in quadrant 4, every point in quadrant 4 is going to be positive, negative. Now, how about the point 0, 0? Right here. The point 0, 0 is right here. It's the origin. It's not on any single quadrant. Or you can say it's being shared by all 4 quadrants. So it's hard to say which quadrant it is in. So we say it's not on any quadrant. It's right here on the origin. Now, every point that's on the x-axis is not in any quadrant, because we just say it's on the x-axis. Any point that's on the y-axis, we just say they are in the y-axis. They are in the y-axis and not in any quadrants. So for instance, if I have a point 1, 0, so 1 is x right here, 1. Now 0, 0 means y is 0. Where is y 0? Right here. So where is 1, 0 at? Which quadrant is 1, 0 at? None. It's on the x-axis. Good. All right, next, let's do some example. Let's try to plot the point 3, 2. Well, first we draw 2 number lines, or the 2 axes, mark them off, label them 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. And right here, this x-axis, right here is the y-axis. Now, where is 3, 2? We find 3, positive 3 for x. So 1, 2, 3, 3 is right here. Now, where is y? Y is 2. So we go 1, 2, so right here, 2 right here. So the point where the dotted line intersect is right here. So that is our point 3, 2. Now, that is not enough, because if you just dot it right here, it might be 3.12 or 3.5, 2.5, because this is not exact, right? So because of human error. So how do we make it exact? Well, we have to label it. It's now 3, 2 because you say so. You don't care what other people think if they think you draw pretty badly, but as long as you mark it here as you say so, then it is now 3, 2 because you're the authority. Any questions? If you have any questions, ask in class. Now next, example 2, ignore that point for now. Let's plot -1, 0. So first we draw 2 lines. And now -1, 0, that's fine right here. We mark it -1, x and y axis. Now -1, 0 is gonna be x on the -1 and y is 0, so it's on the x-axis. And we mark it, we label it -1, 0, and that's it. And as you may have seen, I don't have other numbers. Right here I only have one number, and that's enough. Because I only need to know where this point is at, right? I don't need to know all the other points. Like before, I have 1, 2, 3 over here, 1, 2, 3 over here, -1, -2, -3 over here, -1, -2, -3 over there. But those are just time wasting, right? Since we are not using those, why are we drawing those? Why are we labeling those, right? So in this class, at least in my class, this is good enough. All right. Now I want you to try to plot plot the order pair, 1/2, 2, like this. Find 1/2, 2. Find half, 2. So 1/2 is about half, right? So half x is about here, right? Because 1 is here, half is about here. Now 2, we go y2 right here. So the point should be here. And make sure you label it. Okay? Now that's it for today. So if you have any questions, please ask me in class. And please just write it down. Bring any questions you have and ask them in class. Don't forget. Now see you guys tomorrow.